hasn't been tested and maybe has some promise and maybe gets wrapped up in the hype and maybe gets a little nervous.
You know, credit to him, all this other stuff. And it took some politics to keep Davis as champion. You ever see guys getting the referee their own fight?
Gervonta Tank Davis is one of the most overrated fighters in the sport of boxing right now. And not because of his skills, but because of his resume. And resume does matter.
Joe Rogan slams Gervonta Davis, saying he is overdone and calling his play into question. He says that a real champion doesn't give up when things get tough and has to show dominance in the ring. Rogan thinks Davis hasn't really been through hard times and that his image is based on lies.
Everybody saw it. You can't get around what everybody saw. Look, it wasn't a legit knockdown like he hurt Tank. Tank did have some in his eyes, but what are you doing putting in your hair when you have a world title fight? That's crazy.
And no one want to hear about it in the middle of a fight. That no one cares. If a fly by, drop the ball, bro.
Right.
Drop the damn ball. We don't care if a fly flew by your helmet or your eyes.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck about that.
You can't be a championship fighter and taking a knee and putting on those type of performances.
Also, what are they putting in his hair? That when he's sweating is dripping into his eyes. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Bro, shave your head.
Weird, right? Yeah, exactly.
Shave your head. Who cares?
Like, don't be pretty boy. You better go get this fight.
Get those braids out of there. You don't need those.
Yeah.
He's a good-looking guy. He doesn't need all that crazy braids and shit.
One of the main complaints about Gervonta Davis is how bad his opponents are. A lot of boxing experts say that Davis's team carefully chooses fighters who are less risky, so that Davis is always ahead. People have said that Gervonta Davis doesn't fight top-level opponents enough, which makes people wonder if he is really being tried at the highest level. One clear example is how he has avoided Shakur Stevenson, a very skilled and dangerous fighter, for a long time.
Shakur Stevenson would beat him in a close decision, and it would end up probably being a boring fight. But I think Shakur has the skills to beat Tank Davis over a long 12-round fight. Now we have Subriel Matias, who's a scary Terminator-like fighter who gives up the early rounds to come on later and drown you in those later rounds. But he's very stiff and he doesn't have very good footwork at all. I think Tank Davis will probably, box his face off for most of the 12 rounds. There might be some trouble in the late rounds, but if Tank can stay out of trouble, I think this is one of the few champions that he would beat, but I don't think he would fight him. Now we have Pitbull Cruz, who Tank already beat by a close decision, and Tank beat him with a broken hand.
Fans have been calling for this match for years, but Davis hasn't agreed to it yet, which has led to claims that he is avoiding real competition. Davis has been accused of picking and choosing which fights to keep his perfect record. After his fight with Lamont Roach Jr., many people thought Davis's weaknesses were finally shown. These charges got worse. The match ended in a majority draw, and Roach's amazing resilience and skill forced many fans to rethink the narrative surrounding Davis. If he were truly an elite fighter, critics say he would have handled Roach with ease, instead of struggling to win a decisive victory. Boxing commentator. Smith was very critical of Davis for deciding to fight Lamont Roach, who was much smaller and lighter.
Bruce only had 2 weeks to prepare for this fight. I think in the rematch, Tank would take a lot more punishment and even has the potential of being beat. If Tank's not perfect for those 12 rounds, I think Pitbull Cruz wins because he's been looking a lot better since their fight and has impressed me very, very much. Now we got Devin Haney. Devin Haney is very impressive. He really has everything. He has the defensive skills, the offensive skills. He's really showing his power and strength at 140 pounds. And even though Tank has the power, right, the only guy to really give Haney trouble is a guy like Lomachenko, a southpaw with really good footwork and boxing skills. Tank Davis is not Lomachenko. So I think Devin Haney beats Gervonta Tank Davis pretty soundly and pretty easily, as long as he doesn't get caught with something crazy. Now we have Teofimo Lopez, the first guy to really beat Lomachenko and look very impressive doing it. Not only has he beat Lomachenko, but he also beat Josh Taylor, the former unified champion. Both very impressive victories, and even though he's been kind of inconsistent and doesn't fight as good when he fights lesser opponents, I think he has all the skills he needs to beat Tank Davis. He has the speed, athleticism, the counters, the blocks, everything you would need to beat Tank, right? So I have Teofimo above Tank as well. If Tank wants to be great, he's going to have to fight one of these guys. And Frank Martin isn't really going to do much for his stock. He's got to beat another champ.
He argued that if Davis is truly as talented as people say, he should have dominated someone like Roach. Instead, Davis barely survived in their first encounter, which led Smith to believe that Davis is overrated. This performance, he said, proves that Davis might not be as great as many of his supporters think. If he fails against Roach, how would he fare against top-tier fighters? Gervonta, a smart dude, bro. And he said, You really should have waited. No, you should have waited. You should...
That fight with Tank and Lamont Roach shows y'all how protected Tank has been for the past several years. And the people saying, oh, Tank know Lamont and he been respected Lamont because they fought in the amateurs. Man, he was cherry picking Lamont, you know, and really thought he was going to get that win. But Lamont wasn't coming to play around. You know, he stood his ground and fought back. And to be honest, he won the fight. The rematch is going to be a knockout.
Have waited for a little bit more time. You stuck your head out there a little too soon. And, he was right. He was absolutely positively right. Oh, left down goes Margin now, here we are. Him fighting this cat Roach, and I'm like, isn't this dude the light, you know? Like junior lightweight, super featherweight, going up to lightweight. No, that bothers me. The reason why that worries me is because Gervonta is too great and too skilled to be fighting dudes smaller than him. Gervonta Davis can knock out welterweights. He probably could knock out a couple of middleweights. Why are you fighting somebody smaller? Only time I accept great champions. Fighting smaller guys is when you're not known for your power. You're basically using your better skill set and showing against a smaller, quicker guy that skills don't dissipate. In boxing, the word prize fighter refers to those who prioritize money over their legacy.
Devontae's a smart dude, bro, and he said you really should have waited.
No, you should have waited. You should have waited for a little bit more time. You stuck your head out there a little too soon.
And he was right. He was absolutely positively right.
Oh, left uppercut.
And so now here we are, him fighting this cat Roach, and I'm like, isn't this dude a like junior lightweight?
Super featherweight, moving up to lightweight.
No, that bothers me. The reason why that bothers me is because Gervonta is too great and too skilled to be fighting dudes smaller than him. Gervonta Davis can knock out welterweights. He probably could knock out a couple of middleweights. Why are you fighting somebody smaller? Only time I approve great champions fighting smaller guys is when you're not known for your power. You're basically using your superior skill set and showing against a smaller, quicker guy that skills don't.
Some critics think Davis represents this mindset, focusing more on lucrative paydays than fighting top-tier opponents to build a legendary resume. By picking safer fights, Davis ensures financial success, but sacrifices credibility among hardcore boxing fans. This method, critics say, damages the sport's competitive integrity and prevents true champions from emerging. Many within the boxing community think the sport has become increasingly rigged with politics, playing a larger role than skill in determining outcomes. Fighters and fans alike have raised concerns about unfair judging, biased promotions, and planned results that help marketable boxers rather than the most skilled ones. This has led to rising skepticism about the legitimacy of championship.
I've been told y'all Gervonta Tank Davis isn't a prize fighter. I know a lot of you guys say, well, he doesn't fight for belts, he doesn't fight for legacy, he fights for money. He's a prize fighter, Jerry. And I'm gonna assume a prize fighter is a guy who is solely making fights based off of cash reward. He'd rather fight a bum for 50 million than fight a guy who's experienced for 10 million. That is what a prize fighter would be. Actual definition, a professional boxer who competes in matches for money prizes. So let's take a look at it. Turki Al-Sheikh has declared he wants to make Tank versus Shakur. He says, my plan for Shakur is this fight. He's referring to Floyd Schofield, then Williams Zepeda, and then let's see if Tank wants to be in our show. Tank's not going to fight Shakur. He's not going to fight him in Saudi Arabia. So now that we've established Tank isn't a prize fighter, because if he was, his career resume would look a whole lot different, then we must ask, what is Tank's goal in boxing? I'll tell you right now, it's easy money. Tank is the type of guy, he'd rather fight, let's say, 4 Lamont Roaches for $20 million than fight 1 Shakur Stevenson for $80 million, which is fine. But I'm tired of people saying, oh, he's a prize fighter. That's why he's not taking these fights. He's not a prize fighter. The biggest money fights is Haney, Ryan, Tio, Shakur, and Loma. He's not even going to take half of those fights. So please, guys, all my Tank fans, all my guys who claim Tank is a prize fighter, that's why he's not fighting for the belts, please stop it. This guy's not a legacy fighter. He's not a prize fighter. He's just a guy who enjoys easy paydays. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. Just stop misleading people.
Joe Rogan has also spoken about the issue of corruption. In boxing, he argues that boxing is an incredible sport, but only when the outcomes aren't manipulated. He thinks agreements behind the scenes often decide fights before they even happen, taking away the essence of real competition. Rogan's comments represent the growing belief that modern boxing prioritizes business deals over fair fights. Respected boxing trainer Robert Garcia weighed in on a key moment in the Davis versus Roach fight. The 9th round, when Davis took a knee, Garcia insisted that referees should step in when a fighter voluntarily goes down without a valid reason, such as a low blow.
Boxing's pretty rigged overall.
Oh, yes, rigged, dude. I mean, so many politics, even with, MMA, man, there's so many politics. There's no more art anymore. It's just, let's get an influencer in there. I get it. It's like generating money because our attention span is so short. You look at clips now, it's like 7 seconds. I saw a dude slamming a lady the other day and they were like, oh my God, that dude is, I'm like, well, what the do? I'm just gonna pick somebody and slam them. Where's the whole video? And our attention span is just so small. So money talks, of course. Yeah, let's get an influencer in there who has no style, but it draws attention. It's just...
According to boxing rules, a fighter cannot call for a timeout mid-round, which makes Davis's choice controversial. Garcia thinks that the referee should have handled the situation differently. Joe Rogan also commented on the controversy surrounding the Davis versus Roach fight, questioning whether the rules were being fairly applied. He suggested that the way the fight was officiated felt more like a legal agreement made by lawyers rather than a competitive sports event. Rogan's remarks echoed the frustrations of many fans who thought that Davis was given favorable treatment by officials. He pointed out that Davis had an experienced trainer in Calvin Ford and plenty of planning.